Hey friends. Okay, I wanted to jump on really quick. Um, Today I saw something that really caught my attention, and it's something that um I've incorporated into my life, but I hadn't really thought of putting it into a coaching perspective, and so I want to give that to y'all now. The thought that I saw today was sometimes we need to try thanking God for the unanswered prayers. And you guys, I think this is one of those things that honestly we just don't necessarily think about it a lot of the time. Um, but I was thinking about it specifically more in Jared and I's story. And I think this is something that was really interesting because I've been reflecting on this the last little while since I saw this. Um, and really thinking about some of the prayers that I prayed really, really hard that weren't answered in the way that I wanted them to be answered, so to speak. Okay. Some of those might have been like pornography wasn't a part of our story, that um it wouldn't bother me, that that the habit would just vanish, it would just go away. Okay. These are really, really typical. I see these a lot as just very honest and true desires, honestly. Um, but as I was thinking back on some of those prayers that I'm actually really grateful that they weren't seemingly answered, or maybe they just weren't answered in the way that I saw or I wanted. There's actually quite a lot of them in life. Okay. In pornography specific, I really did pray so hard that the habit would just go away, that it wouldn't bother me, that it wouldn't be an issue, um, that I would never have to talk about it. You guys, there was all these different things that I was praying for. And as I could look back, I can look back with a lot of grace, okay, on those unanswered prayers. Were some of them hard? Yeah, they were. A lot of what I was praying for, though, I wouldn't be where I am today, and Jared wouldn't be where he is today if those prayers had been answered. So this is where I'm talking about looking back on things with grace, okay? Um, a lot of times people coming currently, they are in some sort of a faith struggle. Okay. They're feeling like maybe their testimony is struggling. They're worried about their covenant relationships. There's a lot of fear going around. Um, and sometimes you guys, like, these fears are very real. They're very legitimate. You're experiencing an emotion like that is very, very real. Um, Sometimes where we really get caught up though on unanswered prayers is we feel like we've been abandoned. Okay. We feel like Heavenly Father must not love us enough because he's not answering the prayer. Okay. Um, this is something we really have to look at. And we dive into this quite a bit in coaching. Okay. Um, Sometimes you guys, just like needing to change a thought in order to create a different reality, we need to change a prayer so we can have a different view on our reality. Okay. This is something that honestly, you guys, it takes practice. Okay. It does. And the more we practice it, I'm not going to say the better we get at it. Okay. Because sometimes we don't necessarily get better. Sometimes we just practice and we practice and we practice and we're just kind of stuck. But this is where we have to get under what's under what we're praying for. Okay. What's under what we're thinking. Okay. When we get actually to those, a lot of times we think it's a desire, but more often than not, it actually comes out of a place of fear in a lot of situations. Okay. Just like with our thoughts. Okay. If I have a thought that my husband is never going to get over a pornography habit, that can seem like a desire, like a good desire for my husband to not want to be using pornography in any way. Okay. But what is motivating that desire? So often it's fear. Okay. Just like so often, if we think of the things that we are praying so hard for, what is the motive behind that? Okay. Um, we had a discussion this week with a group of youth that was really interesting. And one of the youth asked if we could feel the spirit as fear. Um, this you will have to decide for yourself, okay? But as I was listening to the youth work their way around this, because it's always really fun when the youth kind of take point on these discussions and they're really diving into the gospel in new ways. The conclusion that they came to is that there can be fear, but there will also be clarity, okay? There can be a sense of urgency and a sense of like righteous fear, so to speak, but that there can also be peace, okay? My sister calls this the and principle. I don't know if it's this big thing, but it totally works, okay? So oftentimes we think, okay, well, we can't feel anything else when we're afraid, okay? That's not always true, okay? You can be afraid and at peace, okay? There have been situations in my life where something I was feeling very, very urged very directly to do something. And my natural reaction, my body chemical reaction to that was a fear-based movement. But I also had a sense of peace that it was going to be okay, even if it really didn't seem okay in the moment. All right. Some of these things, especially with prayer and learning to shift prayer, just like learning to shift a thought. One of the ways that I really do think is the best way that you can get to a root of something a little bit differently is just to learn to ask why, be curious about it, and not like a why, God, like, okay, like, why am I looking at it this way? Okay. Why am I praying for this thing? Okay. Getting curious about that motive is really, really important. Okay. We do this in pornography coaching a lot. What is the motive? What is the thing behind using pornography? Okay. Is it stress? Is it rejection? Is it feeling abandoned? Is it what is it below that thing? Okay. Because once we get below that thing, then we can really evaluate that motive and see if it's in place, okay, and alignment. When it comes to unanswered prayers, guys, there's a thing called bias, like cognitive bias and negativity bias. Cognitive bias is your brain's way of finding things that reaffirm a belief system, okay? You are going to, I'll put it this way. If you want to find a reason that drinking coffee is good for you, your brain's going to go out and find you a reason why drinking coffee is good for you. Okay. Just like if you want to believe that drinking wine is not good for you, your brain is going to go and it's going to do the work to figure out and find resources to prove why this isn't good for you. Okay. We see this in the church a lot. You want to believe in the church, you're going to find things that point to a belief. You want to stop believing in your church, whatever church that is, you're going to find something that proves that. Okay. Because it's this really interesting thing that your brain would rather be right than happy. Okay. So when it comes into these different situations, look at that in prayer. Okay. You want to be right versus happy. Okay. You want it right now. You want the right thing, what you think is right now, instead of experiencing this so that you can ultimately be happy. Okay. This is a really hard thing, especially up here to grasp, because how can we be happy if we are suffering and struggling so much right now? Okay. When we get into these types of situations, it's not about the right now. That's really hard. Okay. We as human beings naturally have a very, very limited view. Okay. We don't want the long-term vision. We want what we want now. Okay. So when we are praying, we have to look at those motives. Like, is it because we want what we want now? Is it because we're afraid? Is it because we're angry? Is it because, again, we're feeling rejected maybe by someone? What's the motive for what we are actually praying for? Okay. You guys, this does, again, take practice. It does. Because we so badly want what we want, even if those things are really good things. Okay. Just like me when I was really struggling with Jared's habit 10 years ago. Okay. Praying for that habit was a good thing. It was. But until I started changing my prayers to, okay, what can I learn from this? Show me the next thing for me. Because I can't control, I can really control so little. Okay. In life, in reality, you can only control so much, and that so much is really just up here. Okay. A lot of things really are just out of our hands. Okay. And so we really need to look at that thought and evaluate that thought. What is your thought behind those unanswered prayers? Is it, my Heavenly Father doesn't love me, He doesn't see me? Or is it, maybe I'm just trying, and maybe I'm learning something, and maybe He can see something more than I can? Okay, the thought, the motive, talk about that a ton in coaching. Okay, when we are feeling hurt, when we are struggling, that motive can feel very right. It can. Okay, think about the last time that somebody really hurt you, whether they did something, they said something, whatever it is. Think about that time. Okay, when you wanted to react, or when you did react, a lot of times that comes from a place of self-defense. Okay, standing up for yourself is a good thing. But if it's to prove that you're right and the other person is wrong, we're sacrificing a lot of opportunities to actually be happy. And I don't mean to be completely submissive. I don't mean always give in. Okay. But especially when it comes to prayer, we need the time to ask ourselves, am I trying to be right? Or am I willing to be happy? Okay. Unanswered prayers. I think back again to me and Jared and pornography stuff. Jared had to pray a lot for his own things and his own ways. You guys, I don't even know most of what Jared prayed for. That's his personal thing. Okay. For me, what I prayed for, I was in the depths of a lot of really hard situations. Okay. Mentally, I was struggling. Physically, I was having babies. I was on a roller coaster. I was struggling. Okay. Emotionally, I didn't understand. And so emotionally, I was struggling. Okay. So when I was praying, they really did feel like righteous desires, but they were the thing that I thought would make me happy now. Okay. Jared and I now are far happier than we were then. But we had to sit in the hard for a while. We had to experiment and learn and grow and push through the hard. And now we're at the happy. Okay, so when it comes to these prayers, pray for whatever you feel like you need to pray for. One of the things that can help, an idea, so to speak, is to ask Heavenly Father, instead of what you want, ask Him what to pray for. Okay, I love saying my prayers and then reading my scriptures. I didn't figure this out actually till probably about a year and a half ago. If I really go back and think about it, probably about the last year even, where I realized that I could read, but then I still turned around and said exactly what I wanted to say, exactly what I wanted to happen, exactly what I thought was best and that I thought I needed. And as soon as I made that little switch, I don't even remember who recommended it to me, but I remember someone saying, talk to God and then listen. And when I started doing that, when I started saying, Heavenly Father, this is what I want. This is what I'm struggling with. This would be really convenient for me if you could make that happen. Okay. Then usually I got into the scriptures and it was like, here, Beth, if you want to be happy, here. Okay. It usually wasn't this big, huge thing. It was usually just, here's a story. Here's an example. Here. Same thing with conference talks. Okay. Scriptures, conference talks, great resources, podcasts. Sometimes I feel like I'm praying and a podcast comes to mind now. And I will go and listen to that podcast and it's an answer. Okay. There's all of these things, and very rarely does what I think is right and what I want to be right actually give me the greatest happiness. Okay. So when we think about these unanswered prayers, some of them, you guys, are very painful unanswered prayers. Okay. I remember very vividly praying that my grandma wouldn't die from cancer. And she still passed away. But have I had very sweet experiences and coming to know my Heavenly Father as a result of that? Yeah, I did. Guys, and I was really little. I think I was 11. Okay. It was right before my 12th birthday. And I was kind of bitter about it. Okay. When I was in high school, I had a really good friend pass away. And I was mad. Okay. I was hurting. I was 15. Same thing in college. I had a really good friend who had AIDS. Okay. You guys, there were these experiences that I had that I didn't get the answer to my prayers. Okay. I didn't get the immediate Jared's habit and his struggle was over. Okay. I didn't get the happy Heavenly Father, please take the tumor away so I can keep having kids. And I had the surgery. Okay. I can't have kids the same way anymore. That was hard for a minute. Okay. I had to learn to change my thought and to change my prayer. And as I've learned to shift this, I've actually been able to detach from the situation in a way that I can have peace and still feel the pain. I can still feel the anxiety or the depression and still feel the hope. Okay, it's this amazing shift that happens when we learn that we surrender, so to speak, okay? We give up our control and our will, and we start trusting, because that is really what trust is a relinquishment of control, okay? When we trust our Heavenly Father with something, it means we're letting go of the control. When we are trusting Him with those unanswered prayers, it means we are trusting Him to get us to the happy, okay? Thoughts are the same way. When we really give up our control over so much and we start trusting our intuition instead of that little voice in our head that's just trying to protect us and keep us alive, we give up so much of the control of wanting to be so right, start actually living in the happy. Okay? So I just want you to really think about that today, okay? Those unanswered prayers. Okay, there's an old country song that I love about unanswered prayers. But there really is so much grace and so much joy in so many unanswered prayers. But it is really hard to see in the moment. Okay, just think about that. How can we shift that thought? We can evaluate the motive. How can we shift the prayer? We can let go of the control beneath that motive. Okay? All right. Happy Tuesday. We'll chat soon. Bye.